In the bustling heart of Lagos, Nigeria, lived Obinna Chukwuma, one of Africa's youngest billionaires. At 34, he was the CEO of Zenitech Holdings, a powerful conglomerate in oil, fintech, and real estate. With homes in Dubai, London, and Banana Island, Obinna had seen it all: power, women, and wealth. But behind his custom-made Agboda and fleet of bulletproof SUVs was a man lonely. His life was loud, but his heart was silent. At every party, he met women who loved his money. At every meeting, friends grinned too wide. Obinna once asked his spiritual mentor, "How will I ever know who loves me? Not my status, not my private jet." The answer came like thunder. If you want the truth, strip yourself bare and walk among them. Let her fall in love with your soul, not your shadow. And so, he vanished. Under the alias Obinoji, he shaved his beard, sold a Rolex, and moved to a quiet village on the edge of Anambra State. With nothing but a backpack and a fake history of struggle, he posed as a mechanic's apprentice in a roadside auto garage. There, fate introduced him to a storm in the shape of a woman. Amoka Okafor. Dark-skinned beauty with eyes like kola nuts and a voice that could calm thunder. She worked as a primary school teacher by day and sold puff-puff in the evenings to support her grandmother and younger siblings. Her life was hard, but her faith was unshakable. She spoke of God as though he was her neighbor. She laughed without fear of tomorrow. She gave her last naira to beggars without blinking. When Obi first approached her puff-puff stand, she offered him one for free. "You look hungry," she said. "God bless you." He stared at her. She stared back. "Oga, are you okay?" Obi smiled. "I think I just saw my future wife." She rolled her eyes. "You Lagos boys and your slick mouths." Weeks turned into months. Obi helped fix the village school's broken generator. He tutored her younger brother in mathematics. He never once mentioned money. He ate fufu in her grandmother's courtyard. He prayed with them, danced with them, loved them. And Amoka. She began to love him back, slowly, like water boiling over firewood. One night, during Harmattan, under a sky bursting with stars, Obi asked, "If I had nothing, would you still choose me?" She touched his hand. "You're already everything. You have integrity, peace, God. That's wealth." Obinna's heart broke open like a cracked coconut. Obi decided it was time to tell her the truth. But before he could, the village exploded with rumors. Someone had posted a video online, Obinna in his former life, stepping out of a G-Wagon, shaking hands with presidents. It went viral. Amoka saw it. Her world shattered. "You lied to me," she whispered. "I needed to know you loved me, not my empire." She looked at him like a stranger. "I loved a humble man, not a man who played God." Obi begged. But her eyes were distant. "Go," she said. "Find someone from your world." Obinna left. But he didn't return to Banana Island. He went to a monastery in Ibadan, fasting, praying, broken. Amoka, meanwhile, faced the wrath of the media. Reporters flooded her village. Her school threatened to fire her. Her students were mocked. Her faith cracked. But her grandmother, Mama Njidika, said, "Child, love tested by fire is pure gold. But love that runs from fire, that one is palm oil. Easy to spill." A year passed. One dry season afternoon, under the ancient baobab tree in the village square, a black SUV pulled up. Obinna stepped out, not in designer wear, but in his old mechanic clothes. He went to her puff-puff stand. "I still owe you for that first one." Amoka looked up. "You still remember?" "I remember every moment. And I'm here to ask." He dropped to one knee. "Will you build a life with me, not in palaces, but in truth?" She didn't speak. Then her grandmother shouted from behind, "Answer him, so I can finally eat jollof at your wedding." Obinna Chukwuma and Amoka Okafor brought both worlds together. Village drummers played beside champagne fountains. Billionaire sat on raffia mats. Dignitaries danced barefoot. And Mama Njidika gave the most dramatic toast. May your love be like egusi, thick, spicy, and forever sticking to the spoon of life. Amoka wore a simple ivory lace dress. Obinna wore a brown agbada sewn by a local tailor. They kissed under the baobab tree, where it all began. Obinna and Amoka built schools, clinics, and youth programs across rural Nigeria. They lived simply, giving extravagantly. And every time someone asked Amoka how she captured a billionaire's heart, she'd smile and say, "I didn't chase a man with money. I served puff-puff to a man with humility. Love met me at the market store." And Obinna, he never wore a Rolex again. But he wore Amoka's fate like a crown. 3 years after their unforgettable wedding, Obinna and Amoka Chukwuma had become Africa's power couple. Not only were they admired for their wealth, but for their humility, philanthropy, and deep spiritual connection. They lived between Lagos and a new eco-village they developed in Enugu, where they trained thousands of youth in tech, agriculture, and faith-based leadership. Amoka had just given birth to twin boys, Kamsi and Chimdi, when a stranger arrived at their gates. He was tall, with skin like dusk and eyes that matched Obinna's. "Who are you?" Amoka asked. The man smiled grimly. "My name is Ezekiel Chukwuma. I'm Obinna's elder brother." Obinna was shaken. Ezekiel was the family's black sheep, disowned 15 years ago after he was caught embezzling from their late father's cocoa export business. He disappeared. No calls. No funerals. No apologies. And now he was back. "I came for my share of the inheritance," Ezekiel said. "And if you won't give it willingly." He dropped a yellow file on the mahogany table. Inside were forged documents, old audio recordings, and a manipulated will, claiming that Ezekiel owned 40% of the Chukwuma family empire. "If I go public with this," Ezekiel said, "your empire will crumble." Amoka's heart thundered. "You destroy your brother's life over money." Ezekiel's eyes were dead. "You don't know the things I've done to survive." As Obinna tried to settle the matter quietly, something darker was brewing. Someone in Zinitech Holdings' boardroom was leaking information to competitors. Profits dipped. Confidential contracts disappeared. Investors grew uneasy. Then came the hammer blow. A secret audit revealed that Amoka's best friend, Eudora, who now served as their foundation's director, had been embezzling millions, and she was in a secret partnership with Ezekiel. When confronted, Eudora screamed, "You chose a village girl over your real people. So I made sure your empire bled." Amoka felt like her soul had been torn. "You lived in my house. You carried my sons. And all this time, you were stabbing me. Eudora's part, you never belonged in this world, Amoka. You were just a pretty story for the media." The next few months were hell. Zinitech's shares plummeted. Government agencies opened investigations. Social media went wild. The humble billionaire's empire is a fraud. Amoka's friend exposes secret scandals. Were the Chukwumas ever real? Sponsors pulled out. Projects were frozen. Churches began to whisper. Obinna stopped sleeping. Amoka stopped smiling. One night, she sat by the baobab tree alone, holding her crying babies, whispering, "God, have we come this far just to be buried by shame?" But the same fire that refined Obinna in his disguise now refined their marriage. They prayed, fasted, strategized. And then, Amoka struck back. She reached out to Mama Njidika, her grandmother, who introduced her to a retired judge and a quiet team of forensic accountants. With their help, they uncovered real documents, hidden accounts, and voice messages proving Ezekiel's fraud and Adora's treachery. But Amoka didn't stop there. She hosted a live press conference, holding her sons, while announcing, "We have been hurt, betrayed, mocked. But like the baobab, we bend, we never break. This family was not built on lies, but love. And we will rise again." The internet erupted with support. People rallied. Youth marched in the streets. Obina returned to Zenitech to find every staff member wearing t-shirts that read, "Faith over fortune." Ezekiel was arrested in Togo trying to flee with $4.2 million. Edora was sentenced to 8 years in prison. Obina gave a public statement, not of revenge, but of redemption. "If my brother ever returns with truth in his heart, he'll find a door still open." Amoka and Obina rebranded their foundation as the Baobab Trust, expanding to Rwanda, Kenya, and Ghana. They opened Baobab schools in 12 villages across Nigeria. And every year, they celebrated their love under the tree where it all began, no diamonds, just dust, drumming, dancing, and stories of how faith, not fortune, built their kingdom. Years later, one of the twins, Kamsi, asked Amoka, "Mama, why don't we live like other rich people?" She smiled, kissing his forehead. "Because we are not like other rich people. We don't wear gold on our necks, we grow it in our souls." And in the distance, beneath the old baobab tree, Obina stood smiling.